I have 5 closing tips to help you make more money right now selling insurance, so let's get right into it. Number 1, be enthusiastic when you're closing, not coy, and here's how I mean. A lot of times when we get to the close, we start to anticipate we're going to get resistance, objections. That affects our psychology. We get scared, and how we present the script that we've learned sounds as if we're not so sure of ourselves. The thing is that our prospects picked up on that uncertainty, not knowing it's because you're scared of what's going on, but maybe that you're not sure of yourself, that the belief in your product really is there. So some prospects respond to that fear in a resistance way, like if this guy isn't confident in what you're selling, then why should I be confident in him? So one of the best things you can do right now, and I would say this is an 80%, 80-20 Pareto principle type thing to apply, meaning it's going to give you a lot of leverage, is when you're closing, don't amp down your enthusiasm level, amp it up. Be excited. You're at the climax of the presentation. It's time to make a decision. You've done a fantastic job up at this point getting them enthusiastic themselves about what it is that you're selling. Don't let that prospect down. Go all the way. Remind them of the benefits and reasons why they should buy today and how it's going to change your life and what pain they would have if they don't decide to make a decision. So be enthusiastic at the close, because that is how you're going to consummate the sale and motivate most of the people who might be a little wishy-washy to cross the finish line with you. Number 2 is always expect objections. Objections aren't something that are an exception to the rule, they are the rule. People object because they're not sure of making a decision or they're scared of making a decision. They're going to voice objections at the beginning of the presentation, really even before the presentation when you're setting the appointment, and certainly at the close. So instead of treating objection handling like it may happen but it's unlikely, treat it like it's going to happen, that you're going to hear things like, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my kids about it, I need to talk to my pet rock, or whatever they say, and learn a script to overcome those objections confidently with enthusiasm, explaining to them why today is the reason to buy and not to delay another second. Number 3, don't believe what they say. So this is the kind of funny thing when it comes to objections, and I blame this on human civility. We don't want to piss off a stranger. We don't want to make somebody angry at us that we don't know, much less people we don't know. And saying what we really think deep down is very difficult, even with people we trust. So many times the things that we hear in objections are reflections of a curtailed reality. Sometimes it's just a complete smokescreen. But the point is that the real true objections that you are hearing aren't what you're hearing is not the true objection. It is a smokescreen in many cases for the real underlying fear of making a bad decision or the belief that they can delay and make the decision later. Point being, when you hear that objection, don't believe it. Ask, hey, I'm glad you said that, but when you say this, how do you mean? Go a layer lower in the objection cycle to see what it is that they're really hung up on. And once you learn what that is, overcome that with reasons why they need to buy today, and specifically dial back to the emotionally charged hot button issues that they had mentioned earlier in the presentation and explain to them and make that connection as to why they need to buy today. And that's how you overcome those objections. Number 4, specifically for telesales agents, as well as those agents who are setting appointments, never hang up the phone when you are going through objections and they aren't hanging up the phone. So here's what I mean. I had a great case study that all agents who joined the Ford Insurance Group to do telesales listened to. And it's from an agent named Melissa. She was calling a lead in Tennessee, and she literally rebutted this prospect's objections no less than 50 times throughout the beginning to the end of the presentation, and ended up getting the sale. And the point is that as she was going through some objections, it was kind of frustrating. She was always putting up a reason why she wasn't interested or she wanted to put it off. But the reality was she just was saying that because that's just how she handles this kind of questions and issues. But the good thing Melissa did, as you should do, setting appointments face-to-face or closing over the phone or getting through the opening at any point in the presentation, is to always overcome objections and continue where you left off. The call is not over until they actually hang up the phone. No matter what they say, if they continue listening to you, there is an ounce of interest at minimum somewhere in the mind of the prospect. So if they really weren't interested, they would hang up. They're just giving you some kind of rebuttal. So take it as that, as just that, and continue the process of the presentation, overcoming the objection, and until they hang up the phone, continue the process of getting closer and closer to the close to get the deal sold. And last but not least, number 5, this is another 80-20 Pareto principle deal that if you employ right now, it's going to get you immediate, profound, exponential results, and that's close. So what do I mean by that? You can hear an objection, but if you don't overcome it and then, very important, and then close with a closing question, you're not commanding action and showing leadership to the prospect to make a decision today. So here's an example. The client says, hey, I need to think about it. Hey, no problem, Mrs. Prospect. I understand when you need to think about it. How do you mean? They say, well, it's the price. And your response to that is something like, hey, your price is fine. It's never going to go up. It is as certain as the sunrise. It's a great price. You know you need this coverage. It's the best thing that you've seen. You said it yourself. And that's where you stop. Well, what's missing from that? What's missing from that is the closing question. So let's get you started. What is the name of your beneficiary? That is the remainder of the closing question. Notice it's an assumed close, but I'm getting into the application assuming they believe and agree with me. If I don't say that question, I'm just kind of making a statement. I'm not showing leadership to continue moving forward, overcoming this kind of BS objection. And the point is, if you don't close with that question, whether it's in person, over the phone, setting appointments, at the door, wherever, if you don't close, you don't get the deal. So make sure you're closing with a question every single time, preferably assuming the close and asking an inconsequential question like, who do you want the beneficiary to be? Or could you please spell your beneficiary's name? Or something like that. Or which one of these options do you want to start with? That shows leadership. It gets the client thinking about buying. And then as opposed to just kind of being at a stalemate, and the client will say, well, yeah, let me still think about it. And those are my 5 tips to help you close more insurance sales right now. I hope you enjoyed this training. If you like more training like this and you're looking for an agency to join, or maybe you're not happy with the agency you're currently with, check out DuFord Insurance Group. Go to davidduford.com/FAQ. You're going to see case studies, hundreds of testimonials, and more about what we look for in an agent. Check out davidduford.com for more.